Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on this wonderful yet rainy, wet Wednesday afternoon. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. 949-8037 or toll free with the compliments of Flow at 1-800-534-8255. We're expecting members from our government to come on and tell us about the e-commerce, e-government update. But until then, let's have some open line. You can share your thoughts with us. Why not right after look at all the things here. Just a quick reminder that we are indeed streaming live on YouTube. So, your way around the social media site, go there, look for Radio Cayman and find us and, do what you got to do. Listen and share your thoughts with us. Help us to make it more accessible for you as you continue to contribute and give us your input. 949-8037 or toll free at 1-800-534-8255. A couple of things of interest. I think it's on the minds of many. If it's mentioned by one, chances are there are many more who are thinking it. But as we're seeing increasingly, we're watching the unfolding debate within the Legislative Assembly. We have access to our elected officials. Some of us even talk to our senior civil servants socially, sometimes formally and otherwise. Some of us only be able to follow the proceedings here on Radio Cayman. And we're great to offer that service if it's the live broadcast or the rebroadcast later on. But nonetheless, it seems that the concerns in the country are the potential that people are facing increased cost of living and the challenges they're having, not just in the future to live, but now to be able at the end of the month pay their bills, to have enough money to survive, to live. Those who are concerned about having something to save will tell you it's challenging. Now, you may have a view about what the legislators do and what they should be doing. I would like to weigh in only on your behalf from what some of the sentiments recently, just before the Legislative Assembly, MLA Kenneth Bryan motion to increase the amount that we can take from our pensions to put towards our mortgages to repay. It was $35,000 the maximum. He asked the government, as we understand it, for $100,000. They settled at $50,000. Well, that $15,000 increase might be helpful. The question a fellow said, he said, as a banker, he thought it's a mixed bag. On one hand, you have people who understand that this pensions is deferred savings later on down the line to help them when they're not in full-time employment. It's probably, unfortunately, for some people, they believe that they put it in today and then tomorrow it'll be available. It's a long-term investment, and it's probably, again, he said to some, a thought process that they save it now, when they retire, there'll be enough. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. There has to be something else to complement that, to supplement what that pension's contribution, what that pension's amount will be available at that time of retirement to live on. it's probably going to be a case where you're going to have to look at your lifestyle and perhaps reduce it in terms of what you can do, how often you can travel, how often you can eat out, and different things. Many people have become accustomed to hearing, elderly people and others talk about living on a fixed income. Well, that's a set amount. Perhaps the lack of education in relation to it, perhaps because the whole pensions machinery for this country is relatively new, but perhaps the way it's been approached, he shared, has created a number of anomalies and challenges for the wider society. Now, he said that if on one hand there's an amount of money available, people are at risk of losing their home, they can face the prospect of being homeless. Why not use that money to help them to repay the mortgage, to ensure that they have somewhere to live? Okay, down the road, they may not have a pensions, but then they may have an asset, a home. Could they sell it then, and then downsize, and then be in a position to live? Equally, he shared, is the approach to the pension scheme something that needs to be addressed. On one hand, he said we have multiple pensions providers. They are there, hopefully, doing the best job that they can. But is it, in a case for a country this size, a better alternative? We have the public sector pension. There are multiple pensions within that. He said one for the judiciary, separate apart from the others. Why are these, small, relatively speaking, pensions? Why not, one national pension scheme that would be better for the entire country? Well, what is your view? 949-8037 or toll free with the compliments of Flo at 1-800-534-8255. Likewise, you can send us your thoughts on our WhatsApp, 925-3261. So we give you multiple options to share your thoughts with us. You can always email if you so choose. talktoday@candw.ky and share your thoughts with us on that email as well. Now, unfortunately, I think as he was sharing, he said, it's not an easy discussion. And for some, they may be making a certain sum. For them, taking out money every month for pensions that they may or may not, in their minds, be around to enjoy. May or may not be an amount, depending on how it's invested and what the markets do, be available to them. And given what they make now, well, could that extra few dollars be the difference between them being, in their minds, below that poverty line and being able to enjoy some semblance of a quality of life? But he also said that there's still, and despite the government's attempt in recent past to address some of the deficiencies in the law, there's still some issues. He thought that when the law was first introduced, the idea that you were capping their maximum income at $60,000 was a fallacy and a great failure. Why is it that you're saying to people you're making an income, but you can only pay up until a maximum of $60,000? What about those who may be making $600,000 or more? Should that not be pensionable? We're creating this thing in the system that already, segregates and separates people based on something that is just, in his view, he said, a fallacy. Equally, if those who are making that amount of money can be said that they are better positioned to take care of themselves, to invest, then why not put it all so they can benefit all or at least more people? Now, the increase to $87,000, as he puts it, still doesn't address the issue. He thought that the one thing that the government addressed last time was this notion that people who worked here and could leave and after 2 years of non-contribution access their pensions only amounted to a very lucrative deferred savings. By that being addressed now, he thinks it helps the pension funds overall to perform better. But again, his view, it should be lumped together now. He was very persuasive in how he presented it. Maybe there are those of you out there who understand it better, who could share a different perspective. Now, he did say it's the idea of a pension scheme that you put the money in now, and 30, 40 years later, it'll be available to you. The longer it's there, the better chance that it'll perform. But given that many people have complained, and not just, recently, not just once, that they have money in the pension and then it starts to take a nosedive, and when they're getting closer to retirement, at that particular time, they don't have the funds that they were hoping to have. Some, when they do retire, even though the money is there, their complaints that, they can't access it to the way that they thought they would be able to access. When they can get access to it, it's only a limited amount, and it's certainly insufficient. For some, they didn't quite understand that there needed to be some other funds elsewhere. Now, he did share that that's probably why the government could, look more closely at the whole regime and give people a chance to use the available funds, not just a small portion, but a significant portion, whatever amount that is needed to help them to remain in their homes, if that is, the prospect they're facing because of the failing economy, the challenges they have in relation to their finances at that time with respect to losing their homes. Not to take it out for education necessarily, for their children, but that, he said, could be an option. Not to take it out for vacation by any means or anything else frivolous, but if something is going to be seen as an investment. 949-8037. Now we're going to pause and take a break, and as we promised, when we come back, we'll have a chance to speak to the government reps in relation to e-government. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Nursing, education, social work, media studies, hospitality, electrical, plumbing, AC. Wow, I didn't even know that the University College of the Cayman Islands offered all that.
Yes, all that and more, as well as event management and QuickBooks. They also did customized training for our staff last month. Hey, didn't your son just graduate from high school? Take him so he can apply for the fall semester.
Pursue your academic and professional goals at UCCI. Admissions are ongoing. Classes start August 27th. Visit them or call 623-8224 to learn more.
The Empowered Woman. Performance-driven, strong-spirited. You need a ride to match your drive. Whether boss by day or mom by night, with lots of legroom and space for sports gear and other things. The new Ford EcoSport is built for you, and it's now on sale for only $22,000, saving you $2,900 off during That Motors summer sale. Stop by That Motors, where you can also save $3,000 off the new Ford Ranger XLT double cab truck. Just two of the many great deals going on now at That Motors on Walkers Road.
Optical Outlook is so wicked.
They're brilliant. Tremendous.
So hot.
They're awesome.
Yo, them cool.
They're sweet.
Just ice, mate.
I love them like cooked food.
Head to Optical Outlook and find many designer brands for men and women. Sun safety and eye health care never look so good. They'll be able to help you find the best fit for your face and budget. Call 746-2020 and book your eye exam today. Come see the difference with Optical Outlook and make sure to follow them on Facebook and Instagram.
Give me fire.
Cave Bar and Lounge in Northside. Your home for all the World Cup action. Open daily from 10 a.m. with $70 bucket specials during all World Cup games and daily happy hour specials. Feel the passion, feel the fire, free the mind, and enjoy the game at the Cave Bar and Lounge, located on Frankston Road in the Old Nico Norte.
When I get older, I will be stronger. They'll call me freedom, just like a waving flag. So wave your flag.
Cave Bar and Lounge.
This weekend, Cayman Up Close, a weekly special feature from Radio Cayman News.
I'm Shanda Gallego.
Shanda Gallego goes behind the scenes with Cayman's newsmakers, artists, and emerging talent to get their unique and personal experience, their real story.
This week, we turn the spotlight.
Sundays at noon, 6:10 p.m. and 10:10 p.m. and always online at radiocayman.gov.ky. Tune in for Cayman Up Close.
Cayman Up Close, brought to you by Cayman National Bank, proudly serving the Cayman Islands for over 40 years.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today, and thanks so much for joining us now as we have a chance to welcome to the studio Mr. Ian Tibbetts, the Director of E-Government. And I certainly appreciate Mr. Tibbetts, not just your company, but you reminded me as the Minister of Commerce, Planning and Infrastructure. I say CPI, boy, that's an interesting one. But maybe I want to laugh to myself. Good afternoon, sir. Always a pleasure to speak with you and to see you.
Good afternoon, and same here.
You know, when I was, with the greatest respect, yesterday we had a chance to chat with our friends over at the Health Services Authority with respect to some of the technologies, as I call it, the health, life, and they're using this pay machine, portal, book appointments, check on your, sort of health history, as it were. Gradually, the country's evolving, and you compare that to other countries around the world that have said, we're going to leverage this platform as best as possible. And in between there are those who are at different spectrums. We're making strides, I think.
Absolutely. But that's a very interesting one. So I was recently attended an e-governance conference, and one of the things that we were talking about there as well, and not so much at the conference, but with parties there, was an e-prescription system, and particularly this is something that was implemented in Estonia. And you go to a doctor, there's no written prescriptions anymore. Private doctor, public doctor, doesn't matter. They all are on the system. They issue a prescription for you. In their case, this is a well-developed solution now. First of all, in the system in the background, while this is how the doctor is entering this, it checks that the drug is on the approved list. It checks that there are no known drug interactions with that and any other prescription you have, etc. Wow. It goes through, does all of this, ends up, prescription safe, it's in the system. And you show up at any pharmacy, provide your ID number, and they're able to identify your prescription that's in the system and fulfill it. Those are all possibilities. It would be interesting to know, what the public feels, whether those are things that they want to see us doing.
In a few have time and don't mind it as appropriate, because I think this sort of discussion, with the greatest respect, with people like you who have not only have that acumen and that intellect and that ability, but that passion, that enthusiasm, you keep up with the current readings and all the journals and almost everything everywhere, and sit in the chat with you. It's like watching a baker at times experimenting with a new recipe, and you get to taste it. You get these new flavors, right? So you have that, and I always admire that sort of level of enthusiasm. Now, came on. I think if Mr. Borden doesn't mind, we use his phrase. It's still a country in transition.
Yeah.
In this day, we've got those of us who would be as happy to go to the catboat still today as opposed to the high-powered Ferrari, right? But there are others who want to pick up the latest, gadget and gizmo and be able to press a button and have our food delivered by some drone or other. That's the neighbors next door to each other, right? With that, Mr. Tibbetts, if I may look at it from the perspective of that country, we see, I don't want to call them millennials, but we see the younger folks being very, very in tune with today's technology, very happy with the cameras and with all the other things. And then there are those of us who, hang on now, how much of this stuff is getting out there that, is about us? How secure is that? Can we talk about some of that as well?
Absolutely. And, I think you touched on one of the most important points around, as we talk about e-government. It is what's right for our situation. It's not what's right for another country. We should always be looking and learning from other countries in terms of understanding, because this stuff is relatively the same, between different countries in terms of where it might want to go. But what fits in a society or a culture is different. And I think that's incredibly important to get right, understanding where we are and how fast we want to move. And because, with technology, it'll be a bit brash with a statement, but you can pretty much get what you can buy, what you can afford to buy or willing to buy. But that can oftentimes kind of infringe on the public norms, shall we say?
Yeah.
And I think for us, we're in early days of a unified approach, and it's going to be a matter of, what are our citizens comfortable with, and there's an element of earning trust as well. Countries that have been very successful with this typically have a lot of transparency. The data protection legislation, for example, coming in is a big one that normally is almost a necessity with as you move forward with e-government. So we have many of the pieces of the puzzle coming together right now. But if we look at some countries and where they're at, and I'll keep picking on Estonia simply because I think it's easier to relate size wise. Well, I mean it's a long way away, and they have a very different cultural background. But when you look at, if we try to compare to say a UK or USA, the economies of scale, the norms are quite radically different from a technology and investment perspective. But in Estonia's case, for example, they're looking at life as a business process, kind of the Jetsons type stuff, and Jetsons. I'll show my age.
The bad part, I'm thinking I relate to that.
Yeah, but where they're anticipating. So what next? What's the next step that'll happen in a child's life? And how do we build our systems to cater to that and make the life of the parent, the citizen, really easy? And that's great if you're at a point where you have that level of trust and confidence and transparency in place. However, that didn't happen overnight. I mean, now they have gotten to where they have that confidence and the security, and as I said, the transparency, because transparency is going to be a key piece of this puzzle. The ability for you to see what has been done with your data, for example, it makes a huge difference. If your data is going in somewhere and you don't know how it's being used or why it's being used, well, that's going to cause you concern. If you can look and see, well, actually, so my data has only been used for the purposes that I expected it to be used, that'll give you a lot of confidence. Now, that takes effort to get to.
Yeah. Well, as you're speaking to Mr. Ian Tibbetts, the phone lines are open when I'm happy to listen, to learn, and to engage is best. But when we're looking at this idea of e-business, everything E almost, from one perspective, the private sector, we like to do our business online because it's convenient, hopefully cost effective. But when it comes to the government aspect, there are concerns of security. But aren't there concerns for both your banking information as well as your immigration and medical information? They both should be equally protected.
Absolutely. I think, and if you look around today, if you think about the way we operate in Cayman in general, our data is replicated and scattered all over the place. Let me just start with our own house, right? In terms of government, you probably have you've been issued, let's say, your driver's license as an identity and privilege indicator from vehicle licensing, but you've probably supplied that to 4, 5, 10 other government departments, agents at different times for identity, and we've got a copy of that in paper. We may have a copy of it digitally. Apart from you're also then filling in forms and providing all this information. All of these copies are in different places and disparate, and then on top of that, because they're all submitted at different times, there's no continuity between them. So I may have a copy of your driver's license in, say, General Registry that has an address that you've moved 3 times since. Whereas, so it's around having some consistency, and if we can bring it together and have a view of one person, one identity.
And the protocols would be easier, security measures and so on. Now, would that also make it easier for, we watch the movies, read the books, that hacker sitting somewhere, whether it's a government intelligence agency or the little fellow in his backyard somewhere playing around and finding out how to manipulate things, for that person or entity to get in and get that information?
And so you can kind of debate both sides of the coin in this case. So if you look at what I described just now as, where we have this data replicated and scattered out throughout, well, for one, that's hard to know if it's been compromised or where it's been compromised. You also, where do you protect it? Right? Whereas, so if you get to where you have less copies of the information all over the place, then obviously it's easier to protect. So there's benefits in that. But the other thing, and this was one of the things that attracted us to the approach that we're using going forward with the government, is to be able to distribute information. So don't hold. So come back to that scenario I started to describe with say, vehicle licensing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to hold your your passport, because I mean they have to have your passport information. That's how they start the process of giving you a driver's license, right? You know, they need to know first of all, okay, this is really Ian Tibbetts based on his passport. Then they permit to have a driver's license. Well, if you in the future state, they don't need to have a copy of it. They just need to be able to check it. So you you get down to where you have less copies of the information distributed all over government and across the patch, and then it's easier to protect, as well as it means that then someone looking to hack has to hit many different places, and they have to be able to link the data together meaningfully.
All right. Now, with that, and as we look at, maybe you guide me because maybe I am not looking at it correctly. I think many times, just like your example, we look at it in silos. I think we need to look at it holistically. And we look at private and we look at public. To me, it's your data. It's you. My relationship with my bank and relationship with my healthcare provider. It's me. It's my information. I want it to be protected. I want it to be accessible. I want it to be accurate and as best as possible, uncompromising, right? So when we're looking at that in the Cayman context or in Estonia, whether public or private, is that information accessible? Is it the same sort of identity, that one identifying number for that one individual, despite how many e-banks is with the same first name? It's discrete.
So today it isn't today, and that's part of our challenge. Which the fact that you have a unique passport number and a unique driver's license number, that's not really a big issue. The issue is that we don't connect the dots in the back end.
Yeah.
So we don't have a holistic view of you. You kind of have to go out around the perimeter and come back in to see it, right? And business, your point about private sector is absolutely correct, because when you go to the bank, part of your setting up an account, the KYC, etc., that's reliant on you providing them a government issued identity, right? You have to provide them that documentation. So certainly the ability for them to access or to verify your identity without having to have extra information on hand is certainly a possibility. It's one that I see coming, but again, it's right sizing it for the Cayman Islands.
Right. Now, from that perspective, for this to all work, whether we focus on the government initially, infrastructure comes to mind. Share with us. Is that?
Dwayne, I tell you what, if we had practiced this, I don't think you could have pointed in the better directions than you have, right?
Oh, I see. It's the intellect to use, man. Just fucking into it, man.
But so from an e-government perspective, we've been working down two paths in parallel. One is we continue to bring new services and improve services for our populace, right? As well as get that infrastructure in place. So over the last year and a half or so, basically, we've gotten a new high availability physical infrastructure in place with, across a primary and secondary data center. Okay. So to give us the reliability, when we start to rely more heavily on these services. We have been working on the interoperability word. And that platform is ready for service in this month. We have installed it, and we're going through testing and final configuration, and we have one process, as I would say, not a hurdle, to go through before the end of the month, kind of just to implement the ultimate level of security, that we plan to get to with it. And then the other piece of this is coming back to that singular view of the person, and also then how do you access our services today? I'm not sure how many you have, but you probably, I suspect it. I'd be surprised if it's less than 5 usernames and passwords for government. You know, if you look at customs, immigration, vehicle licensing, general registry, DC, you know, wherever, right?
Yeah.
It's all over the place. So we actually are going, right now we're in the midst of a procurement exercise for an identity and access management platform. And that'll give us the ability to control access and to make sure that we have strong authentication such that when you're accessing our services, we have the high degree of confidence that it is Dwayne, you know. So,
all right. Well, when you come back from the break, just remind me, hey, you're getting a little excited in this conversation. So I got to play the commercials. All right, we're going to play those commercials for us now. When we return, Mr. Ian Tibbetts, the Director of E-Government, will continue. And you share with us. There'll probably be a test after this, right? So you better pay attention, take your notes. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
The time is now. The speed is here. March to the beat of the mobile revolution with Flow 4G LTE and a prepaid mobile combo plan. Activate a Flow prepaid mobile combo plan to get calling minutes and data in one convenient package. And every plan comes with double data. Enjoy the proven best overall experience in Cayman with a Flow prepaid mobile combo plan. Now with double data, coverage, value, speed. Flow 4G LTE. Always connected, always faster. Visit discoverflow.ky. Terms and conditions apply.
Accidents can happen at any time and can leave a strain on you and your family. Be prepared with Workman's Compensation Insurance from Fidelity Insurance. Our brokers can help you meet your government requirements and ensure that you are covered should an accident happen. Don't leave it to chance. Email Fidelity Insurance at insure@fidelitykman.com for a free quote. Get Workman's Compensation from Fidelity Insurance and get some peace of mind. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Kia Soul passes it to Kia Sportage. Sportage makes a stylish move over to the sleek Optima. Optima then flicks it across to the 7-seat Sorrento. Sorrento heads it. Goal! Kia!
It's time to score with the entire 2018 Kia lineup at GT Motors. Get up to $3,000 cash back. The first 50 customers will score a World Cup replica football and mascot. Hurry, it's the best thing that's happened to car buyers all year. The 2018 Kia clearance sale, only at GT Motors on Godfrey Nixon Way. Kia, driving football fever.
Wow, looks good. What is that?
Chicken share.
What did you just say to me?
Chicken share.
I am not a chicken
Whoa, I said chicken share. It's from KFC. Bucket of 12 hot wings, 6 pieces of chicken, or 8 tenders. KFC chicken share. Just $12 each.
Oh.
Want some chicken, tenders, or hot wings?
You're sharing your chicken share with me? The new chicken share from KFC. Just $12 each. And it's finger-licking good. Dine at KFC Baytown Plaza, KFC Shedden Road, or KFC at the Strand.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks so much for joining us as we continue our discussion talking about e-government with company of the Director of E-Government, Mr. Ian Tibbetts. Hey, thanks truly very much for you joining us. Hopefully, as the public listens and understands. So, at the outset, maybe let's rewind it quickly. There's some who are listening and say, well, you know, I don't like this computer business too much. You know, I'm not too trusted. That could be that retiree. It could be someone else who may have been hacked just recently. Their email got compromised and so on. So there's some like that. And then there are others who probably bring it on, man. You mean you're not in the 21st century yet? You're trying to please everybody. Take us to that path, you know.
Yeah, so, you know, I think the customer experience and making sure that we're providing the right access to government for different customer segments is key. And certainly while it can go that direction, the initial focus isn't about just getting rid of service at the counter. Mm-hmm. It's about enabling additional options and making it easier whether you're getting service at the counter or online. So, for example, we're more focusing on how do we actually interact with the customer and thinking of things like if you're doing a renewal, let's say for a vehicle license or something, get to the point where we're asking you, especially this is renewal specific, has anything changed in this area? And if you've just gone through and checked all the boxes and said no, you make a declaration that this information is true and accurate, and pay. You know, you don't need to. We don't need to have you resubmit everything every time, because we're holding you accountable based on your declaration. But the other side of that is where we're able to do the same for in many cases when you're getting one government service, you have to provide information from another government department. Well, let's not have you necessarily walk about and be a courier between government departments, whereas we can use our systems to get the necessary information on your behalf with your permission.
We're seeing that, and I'm only sort of, pinching it together from different discussions. In the early days, some government departments, as part of their customer experience and that engagement in a customer service, saying, "But don't worry, you're here for this thing. We can get that. We'll do the footwork for you." Instead of you doing, they're becoming the physical courier. You're talking about taking that another step higher, where that person at the desk is saying, "Wait a minute, let's just go through this thing, and you're good." I gather, and those in the financial sector will know specifically, but the people in the financial sector who do their annual returns for their companies and do all their things with the Monetary Authority and with the company's registry, they pretty much got a good platform where a lot of this stuff is done electronically now.
Yeah, absolutely. The both Monetary Authority and General Registry have actually been leaders in this space. But it's invisible to most of the public, right, because it is serving the business customers in that space. So the vast majority of company registrations are all done electronically. As you said, and they've, not sure if you've heard about the Cayman Business Portal that was recently launched.
Right.
With that, you're able to do many things, and that's geared more. This one will be more visible to the masses, in as much as it's geared to the individual who's running their own business and doing their own services online. Whereas the services that were there previously were largely for agents and corporate service providers.
Now, Mr. Tibbetts, with that in mind, respectfully, if I could use the vehicle license, for instance, maybe play the driver's license, but let's use the vehicle license. We go online, some capacity, whether it's a desktop or whether it's a laptop or smartphone or whatever, some electronic internet-connected device, and we go through the details. The color of the car is still the same. You haven't made any modification. Whatever it is, the insurance, all that information is there, and it's a truthful declaration. Now, we're accustomed to getting a logbook and inspection thing saying, certificate of roadworthiness. We have that physical copy in our cars if whenever we need it. In this instance now, what happens? What will that person have so that if required, they can produce this thing?
So you can still obviously allow them to print off the necessary documents in a case that they can carry. But one of the big, when you really start to turn the corner with e-government, is when you're not relying on the person to bring you or provide you something. Number one, that adds the potential. Now, I don't want to cast the wrong aspersions here, right?
No.
But it adds the potential that could have been tampered with. It could have been an old version. It could have been whatever, because it's in their possession. They're probably going to handle it a little different from. Whereas if the police officer or whoever has access to check the source data in the back end, that's the important thing, right? And that's where we need to be hitting.
Okay, guide me in this, and probably you help me. So let's say there is something, so a vehicle mishap, or perhaps police sees a vehicle and say, "Wait a minute, what? This don't look right." So they pull it over. And traditionally, well, license registration, please. We see the officer walks off, right? And you produce this thing. Well, maybe while the officer's in the vehicle, she can type into something, and immediately in real time, well, this vehicle is supposed to be this color. Yes, this is the license number, and all those things right then and there. Any anomalies, discrepancies should become very apparent. Goes to the driver. Yep. Yeah. All the details should be then and there.
Yeah.
Much safer, much more efficient.
Absolutely. And that's certainly directions that we've got to hit in. Some of that's already in place.
Yeah.
But
we saw, we won't necessarily get into it, but we hear some from the press releases that sometime not long from now, with licensing and there'll be this interoperability, interconnection.
Yeah, a bit of both. Yeah, with the insurance providers and so forth. Yep. Yeah, and I think so that I know that there's I've heard bits and pieces of concern around having access to information, but one of the things that you get when you have proper interoperability is you don't necessarily, the person doesn't have to access all the information. They just need to know a status and basically who's accountable, someone accountable, right? Mm-hmm. So, for example, and we haven't I haven't been through discussions, detailed plans on this, but let's be hypothetical. You could have a scenario whereby the only thing that they have access to is to know that the vehicle is or isn't insured. Doesn't know what coverage you have. Doesn't know
current coverage,
how much you've paid, who's paid, whose name the coverage is in. It just needs to know that there's coverage. And if that changes, then the party that is covering it has an obligation to indicate that they no longer are covering it. If they indicate it's covered, then obviously they have an obligation to live up to that. So with interoperability, one of the big things for me is around and that's where you get that level of comfort that it's not a watching over you situation. You only need to access the minimum amount of information you need to get the information that you need to have. So, one and be a bit hypothetical here, right? But it's good to, because it's things that society needs to discuss around. Well, what do they want to see or not want to see? Thinking about EIDs and so forth, you could have a scenario where when you walk into, let's say a bar, someplace that there's an age restriction on, you show your ID, and the system can quickly check that there's no restriction against that individual entering. So but all it needs to return in that scenario is a red or a green, or a yes or a no, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't say why. It could be they're underage, could be there's some legal restriction, that they may have a restraining order, whatever.
Yeah, person could be a conditional release. That could be some. What's the police call it when you're out there and curfew?
Yeah, you exactly. So the ability to make life better for society without compromising their data is certainly there.
Well, that's certainly maybe I'll encourage you to go on that path. Maybe not. When we come back from the break, we can talk about that to some extent. The potential freedoms.
These breaks are coming up awfully quick.
Now, did you hear that, Mr. Fox? You see, I've been telling this all along, They're like, you want your paycheck? We got to take the breaks. Yeah. All right, this break I don't mind because this is our news break, right? Okay. The next break won't be until 4 o'clock. You think we can manage? That'll be fine?
So, the problem here is only if I got a short amount of time to talk. It isn't if I got a long one.
We're going to pause and take a break for our news. When we come back, Mr. Tibbetts is going to continue to not just enlighten us, but we're going to truly be inspired to see how this thing can work. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Important notice for all contractors, including general, civil, residential, building, and trade contractors. The Department of Planning would like to inform you that in order to pull permits and request inspections, your company must be registered with the Builders Board by July 31st, 2018. Failure to register with the Builders Board will prevent you from seeking permits and inspections. Fees and applications can be found online at www.planning.ky. All applications and fees for all contractors must be submitted by July 31st, 2018.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
On a daily basis, making it easy to connect with you, our listeners. Add us to WhatsApp today, 925-3261. That's 925-3261.
Radio Cayman.
Send a text or voice note.
Can I send a request, please?
You don't really have to ask us. Just send a request.
This is a shout out to my ex.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
Community radio with a different appeal. The voice of the people. Security through adversity. Stuck on you. Radio for all time.
You're listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's newsroom. Headlines. These are the biggest stories right now.
Police are investigating a Tuesday afternoon stabbing. The Royal Cayman Islands Police Service says shortly after 5:10 p.m., officers responded to a report of an assault near Cayman Airways headquarters on Owen Roberts Drive. It was reported that a juvenile male was involved in an altercation with two other males known to him and was stabbed in the leg. The suspects took off, and once emergency crews got on scene, the victim was carried to the hospital. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. French President Emmanuel Macron has told the BBC that European Union plans to create migrant processing centres in North Africa will not work unless the process is led by those countries. Speaking during a visit to Nigeria, Mr. Macron said many African countries were worried that such centres would act as a pull factor for migrants. No African country has so far agreed to host the centres. EU leaders agreed to explore the idea at a summit earlier this month. The co-founder and chairman of the giant Chinese conglomerate HNA Group has died in a fall in southern France while touring the province region. Police said 57-year-old Wang Jian had climbed on a high parapet to take photographs in the picturesque village of Bonu when he fell. Rescue services in the region were unable to revive him. And the seemingly disastrous story of the world's most endangered mammal, the northern white rhino, could be rewritten by IVF, scientists claimed. They used the method to produce rhino embryos with sperm from two dead males. The embryos were made using eggs from a closely related subspecies, but the scientists say the method could save the northern white rhino. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks so much for joining us. And in the studio, as we speak to Mr. Ian Tibbetts, the Director of Your Government. Honestly, thanks for taking time out of your day, especially this time of day. I don't know about you, but lunch sometimes appeals to me. Be good to get something to eat.
Yeah, that's an interesting subject. I looked at my watch and thought I had extra time and realized, no.
Nope.
Let's get away.
Not today, Bobo.
So if you hear any unusual sounds, it's probably my stomach growling.
Yours or mine. One or the other, right? But as we look at e-government and as we look at where our country can go, you reference Estonia, we see other governments are either in the U.S., either little towns and counties embracing this thing, but then to see a country come online. If I could ask, though, I was thinking earlier when you were chatting and we were talking about, I call them the millennials, but those younger folks now, they seem to be, just generally speaking, much more accepting of the technology, much more trusting, much more willing to embrace it. Presumably, even when we talk about financial planning, they'll download the apps. Whether they understand them or not, that's a different story. But they'll be willing to be more trusting and do online banking and do all these things. All the folks like me, not so sure. What's the reticence and why is it that they're more willing to embrace it?
Well, I think they're just about born with a device in their hands now, right? So that there's that natural comfort from that perspective. However, I think you'd be surprised, I believe, in the number of persons, say in the 30s and up that are even above that, right? Yeah. That are actually very into e-services and online services, etc. But again, I think it's a matter of making it easy and comfort for them. And that's where we're focusing on as I said, on the customer experiences. Let's make it simple. If you think about for forms today, a paper form, it has to cater to all eventualities. So it gives you've got a paper form in front of you to fill out, whether it be, let's say, for a work permit or something. Well, they have to have all the different permutations that you might have, and you then have to decipher. Well, okay, so yeah, I need to fill out this piece, but not this piece. I need to provide that document, and not this one, and that one. Whereas with an online service, you can have the computer do a lot of that analysis for you. So it simplifies things. It says, okay, actually no. So you want to do this, and you're Caymanian or you're whatever. And it can then tailor the requirements to your specific circumstance, which that alone takes a lot of complexity out. So I think it's a matter of a little bit of experience. I mean, one example. So we have one of the first, I'd say, apart from driver's licenses, one of the services that are really catered to the masses. Most of the other services we talked about, the early adopters were largely catering to business because of their willingness to jump on board. If you look at the police clearance system, and even that's phase one, of a 3-phase plan. The second, third phases are waiting on some other capabilities. The interoperability, for example, so that you shouldn't have to provide a copy of your passport. It'll source that from the system, and so on that service alone, before we launched it, we went out and spent a week at the criminal records office surveying customers coming through, asking how much of it, to understand what the impact on their life was of having to do this physically, as well as whether or not the market, what was the addressable market, how many persons had access to a computer, a scanner, printer, everything they needed. And at that stage, it was 54% of those surveyed. I mean, we had a statistically valid sample. You could argue that, okay, you needed to take it over a course of a year, but quantity-wise, it was representative. And 54% of the persons actually had access to everything that they needed. Now, the results up until end of May showed that we were running at 36+% of all requests for police clearance were submitted online. It's in excess of 1,000 a month that they were running there. So if you do the maths, we're somewhere. This isn't precise, but roughly 14% of the population has effectively used the service so far.
I think too, more of us, as we become aware that it's available, but the banking aspect has to be online. Yeah, the government can provide it, but if you got to be able to pay and you don't have access to the ability to pay through your bank, then it doesn't work. So that public-private interconnection needs to be there. Just as an aside, maybe I'll put it out there and we'll get a change, because words are important, right? Yeah. We went from police records to criminal records. Mm-hmm. No, I don't know, man. Maybe it's indicative. Maybe it's just me looking at it in a certain way. I like the word police records before, right?
Well, it's criminal records office.
Yeah,
police clear. So, but even that, one of the things, and they across the civil service, there's more. There's a eagerness to do more with online services in e-government. So, for example, right now, we're starting some discussions with some of the persons in the police force around, well, what about accident reports? Why can't we apply for those? What about firearms licenses? So these are all things that we have more opportunities to go after than we have the hands and to execute on right now.
So, Mr. Tibbetson, all in all, does that come down to having a society where there's a culture of integrity, so that there is an expectation that the norm will be every single one of us, when we submit information in person and online, that we're going to be honest, we have integrity, we're going to put information, truthful. For example, a friend of mine was traveling not long ago in a fairly developed part of the world, and the best example, some sort of yard sale, right? With the greatest respect, the culture that we've experienced here, if you have one of those things, people can come and try to higgle and haggle and steal and take away. There, it was out there. People walked by and they took what they wanted and put their money, whether it's a fruit or item of clothing. Now, this is in today's world, in a developed part of the world, not some rural backwoods place. People are honest there. Do we need to get to a point where we're honest here again? See, some philosophical.
I think I should go back to your government. You're taking me down a dangerous path here, right?
No, man. It's just, I told you, if you let me go, we'll move.
Yeah. I think, so both you and I are old enough to remember a very different
time. Yes,
right?
sir.
I always joke, my parents' home in the Brack, the front door required the key to lock it, and the key was lost for 36 years. Right, so never a problem.
Nope.
So but today that probably wouldn't go quite so,
unfortunately,
so well, right? But I would love to see Cayman, see some of the things of the past back in play. But I'd also like to continue with some of the things that are here.
We can have both, man. We can have both, sir.
And one of the things though that. Even in the Bible it talks about temptation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of cases, particularly with the government and sourcing things, going to the source for things, you can avoid the temptation. You can take away the temptation of persons altering something. You can take away the temptation of misrepresenting, shall we say, because the person that has the need to verify it has the ability to verify it at the source. But the person whose information is being checked should also have, there are certain limitations, right? In any country, you're not going to be able to see when during a criminal investigation that your information has been checked, for example.
Yeah.
But there are still checks and balances to protect from abuse there as well. But certainly the traditional usage of your data, you should have some degree of visibility to ensure that it is being used in the way that you expect it.
If I could ask you that, one in relation to freedoms, and then one, let's take the first part. You just referenced, a person would not be able to access and know then and there that they're being investigated for whatever reason. But should a person be able to find out maybe every year if they so choose, you can make an application and find out whether you've been investigated. Your records have been accessed by immigration, by customs, by police, by some government agency. If we get to a point where there's a private sector entity, a banking consortium that comes out and wants to check on customers, whether we call it credit checks or whatever, should people be able to know, well, you know what, my information is being accessed by this, and this?
I think that's going to be a necessity for true advancement, because there has to be an element of trust but verify.
Mr. Reagan.
Exactly, right? But and that's how you acquire trust as well, right?
Yeah.
Is, you earn it, and when it has been checked and found to be worthy of.
Yes, sir.
And so I think for e-government, there is, and particularly for certain types of data, there's going to be a need to have that degree of transparency. But one thing to remember with e-government, this isn't a new life. This is the digitization of things you do, it is it's there to make your life easier, not introduce a whole parallel life, right?
Yeah.
And if you think about the way that things are done today, if you're going to apply for something and a prerequisite for that is this, well, that you can't get it if you don't supply it. If let's say, I'll kind of be a bit random here, but let's say you're going for a work permit, and part of that was a medical. The law required that there was a medical record or proof of good medical health. If you don't provide that, you're not going to get a work permit, right? So online, if you want to apply for a work permit, and let's say we had this service online, then there has to be a mechanism where the information. Now the question is, what information? Does it need to be the detail of a condition or not a condition, or does it just need to be that someone who is accountable and can be held accountable for their accuracy of their information has said, and has the requisite knowledge and authority to do so, says,
"Yep, this
person passes the health check that you require."
Yeah. Simple that.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
And so it is not about creating a whole new life.
Let me ask you. I think one of the best books ever written, is Animal Farm. Without question, it's easy to read. Only about 5 pages. It's probably the best book, right? Now, go back to the example, if I may, when you talked about the individual who went into the bar. No, he's not meeting a politician to find out anything. He's going into the bar and to present the ID, his driver's license or his national ID, green or red, let's just say. Any concerns then that a person could be, because of this future state that we're looking at, that movement, that ability to monitor people such that their freedoms are being impinged?
Yeah, well, I think that, this, and remember I said it early on that data protection legislation was a key ingredient for e-governance.
Right.
And this is where data protection also comes in, because they're one of the, and I'm no lawyer, but obviously
you can play one on radio right now. Okay.
I try to be cognizant of what is included, because we need to build services that are compliant with our own laws. And one of the key things is around a justifiable need, effectively, for the information that you collect on routine or whatever. So that kind of ensures an element of legal protection for what you're talking about, is that there should be the justifiable need for having collected the information or for retaining the information going forward. And so could you use technology to infringe on privacy, infringe on rights? Absolutely, you could.
Right.
Could you use other things besides technology? You absolutely could.
Right.
It's what is acceptable, and there's the checks and balances. I think the beauty, for me, the nice thing about technology is the fact that technology makes it relatively easy to provide the element of transparency that gives you the control.
I think many who visit the UK specifically, certain other parts of the world, would be very cognizant of the amount of cameras that are out there. And if one, National Geographic has done it a couple of times where they've tracked a subject throughout the day, and there's probably only a small window, seconds, where that person's movements, aren't recognizable.
Right.
Now, when came on relatively new installation of our CCTV cameras, many of us now are oblivious that they're there. We've become accepting. We've become so quick to integrate that into our lives.
Yeah, again, I think this is an element of balance between what's needed to provide the necessary protections and for law and order, and what is acceptable for the citizenship. Obviously, the CCTV one is one that's been down the path, and almost every country in the world, every advanced country, is moving in that direction for the aid of law enforcement. The key thing, though, I think, isn't whether or not you employ the technology to help for law enforcement. It is whether or not it's what you don't do with it, and how you protect, what protections you put in place, that you're not abusing the use of these things.
Right. Not necessarily no, unless you wish to, but I was just thinking only because it kind of popped up and reminded me. We're seeing increasingly, whether it's at the bank or whether it's at one of our internet service providers, people getting emails that are spam or phishing and hacking attempts and the like. And sometimes we look at the email address and it looks very legit. Does that mean then, as a populace, we need to become a little bit more savvy, a little bit more knowledgeable and educated, if I may?
Absolutely. And I always am concerned that people are going to think that I think Estonia is a panacea, right? And it certainly
that's Germany.
It certainly has things that can improve. But one of the interesting things we were discussing with some folks from their Minister of Education at one point. And from the time kids start primary school, one of the key objectives for them is digital safety.
Mm-hmm.
You know, making sure that they're prepared to retain their safety, because the same way that, you know, we teach kids today not to talk to strangers and this, that, and the other, we need to be doing likewise around digital
the
threats,
online platform, yeah.
Because an identity theft is, you know, in many cases far worse than some physical thefts. Mm-hmm. It doesn't leave you with the same. Maybe it doesn't leave you with this. I said maybe actually, it doesn't leave you with the same trauma that, you know, you have from the physical invasion of your premises or whatever, your property, but the damages can be huge, and that's technically what it after. And I mean, the thing is, the criminal element has identified that, you know, so if you're keeping your technology up to date, then it and doing the right things, it significantly limits the probability of compromise. Although, you know, as the CEO of Cisco, I think it was said that, you know, he said there's a couple of types of people: those that know that they've been hacked and those that don't know, kind of thing, right? You know, at some stage, digitally, we'll all be compromised. Yeah. But I think the main thing is ensuring that we prepare people, because they're the easy target right now, because a computer, you set a computer up and, you know, it's pretty consistent with what it does given a particular input or request. Right. Whereas people, you know, people, you can play on their emotions and, you know, the urgency, the interest factor, and get them to do things that they look back at and say, oh, no, did I just do that? A
beautiful screensaver, you download it because it's a nice waterfall or a fish or whatever it is, but embedded in there is some malware.
Yeah, and I mean, there are some. If you go to some of the conferences, you know, Black Hat and so forth, security conferences, mm-hmm. you'd come away and ready to go into a cave, right? You know, because I mean, it is the potential out there is huge, but I think there's many things that we can do, and you think we need to get to where we're thinking about what data we put where. Because it's one thing if your grocery list gets compromised. It's another thing if your bank account or your physical identity, right? And so you need to think about the data and the impact of the potential impact of the data, and what you do with it and what you don't do with it.
All right. Well, I guess, you know, when we look at, as you put, Estonia, we look at Israel in relation to putting, you know, what they put for their students in the early days. Maybe Cayman needs to consider where it wants to position itself in this, you know, what they call it, the fourth economy or the like. We need to be elsewhere. You know, it's information age. We never really had an agrarian society. We didn't go through the industrial aspect. We've always a service base. Where are we, and how do we position that? We're talking about knowledge-based industries. Are we doing enough in our schools? You know?
Yeah, and you know, so it's interesting. I was recently spoke at the SIDEC conference here recently. And there were a number of really good, interesting topics that were covered. And a lot of it was around opportunity for Cayman in the fintech space, mm-hmm. and in the use of, because I mean, it's really all coming down to the intellectual property and how you leverage that, right? You know, if you look at, you probably remember back in the day when you'd go and buy a software and you were paying a couple of $100 up front and you owned it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's the rarity. Now it's, you know, whether it's a subscription to an online service for a month, or whether it's actually the software that you physically install. But again, it's generally something that's on a term limit, and it's because it's all about they're letting you access their intellectual property for a while, right?
And this is where I think I enjoyed this discussion with you, because I think it gives our people a chance to consider a couple of things. How we do business, how we protect our information. Some of us are very, very restricted with what we have in our personal sphere. You know, our I guess we still have photo albums. We probably have them put away somewhere in a cabinet, whatever that's called, in our houses. Others have them just out there and anybody can come and thumb through. Some have them up on a big screen going through constantly. Everybody can see the best and the worst of the pictures. Do we do the same online? We put everything up there without appreciating the potential for abuse.
You reminded me of something I saw recently. I think it was a program on artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And they actually have developed an app for persons with Alzheimer's or certainly any sort of early stage memory loss. And what it does actually, it builds a profile of their life based on their social media, and it then integrates and is able to detect, hang on, this isn't something that they normally do. They're lost, and it'll be able to tell them, so actually, you need to go. This, you're trying to figure out where home is. Well, home is over there, hid this way or whatever. Or they're kind of confused as to, well, what would I normally be doing now and just can't recall. From their social media presence, it's able to reconstruct the norm of their life and actually predict it. Now, obviously, that you think about what the criminal element can do with that, right? And that gets pretty scary.
Yep.
But so I think it is one of the things, and this is something particularly for the millennials, is really we do need to be very cautious and think through what we put on social media, especially.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is, as you shared, on one hand, there's this great promise and almost unlimited potential of what is technology, but it also means then that we'll have to put all this stuff about us in this domain so that it can be accessed. I don't want to use the word manipulated, managed, right? Processed. Comes back to this whole idea of culture of integrity. Are we people who are going to ensure that, for the most part, almost all of us will do just that. Have that level of honesty and integrity in our actions.
Yeah.
Ah, boy.
But and I mean that was incredibly good times, and I would love to see more of that culture back in Cayman. Obviously, I mean, I raised up in Cayman Brac. I have dual citizenship. I'm a Cayman Bracker and a Caymanian.
I knew you were bilingual. I realized that you speak Cayman Bracese.
No, I get myself in trouble, obviously. But after Ivan, my family had the opportunity to go back to the Brac and with kids that were varying from like age 6 through to 12 years old, and it was a fantastic opportunity because even the difference between Cayman and Cayman Brac, and that recent was somewhat like what we're talking about now, kind of,
yep.
a bit of that gap in time. And they truly enjoyed it now, but they also enjoy the lifestyle, the faster pace lifestyle and things that they have here too. So.
Yeah. Now, as we conclude our discussion, certainly, Mr. Tibbetts, your schedule allows anytime, every time, come on and chat. Maybe one day I'll get you to talk and just your private spare in relation to the technologies out there, because those who know you, man, know you have a wealth of knowledge and a great interest. But as a public, as we embrace this e-government, as we embrace the idea that we're going to leverage the technologies and invest in infrastructure, get our people educated from the very first day of school to the postgraduate studies, what do you want to say to the public specifically?
Well, I think the key thing now is we'll have the technology in place. What we need is a discussion around what do you want, what do you not want, because that's the main thing. Once you've gotten the infrastructure and the systems and the capabilities in place, is making sure that you apply it right size for your location. And when the technology is a couple of years away, well, it's a bit of a irrelevant discussion almost, because technology itself will change so fast that by the time the technology was ready, the context would have been out of place. However, I think now we're at that point that we really need to have sort of identities and other things. We need to have those discussions around, well, what is it that Cayman wants or doesn't want.
Now, maybe for another time, but the question just to leave on the table: when we look at getting this culture of integrity, is it a way to incentivize those of us, and not so much to card them, but maybe discourage those individuals who want to abuse the technology, so that we can, move forward with integrity in the systems?
Yeah, I mean, the same way you protect society with law and enforcement in the physical realm, we have to do in the digital realm. And so, there needs to be the element of protection for it when if your data has been compromised, your system has been compromised, that needs to be treated equally as it would be in the physical realm.
All right. Well, there's a interesting WhatsApp message that's coming through. I got a chance to read it. Sadly, sir, I don't know if I'll be able to read it with you, unless I can take a few more minutes of your time from the next guest. All right. Mr. Fox, can we do that? Get a couple of extra minutes with Mr. Tibbetts, but I got to pause now, read this WhatsApp for us, and we can talk about it.
Sure.
All right. Stay tuned. Another 15 minutes with Mr. Tibbetts.
Okay.
From happy beginnings to happy ever after,
Brit K protects your lifestyle with the best insurance cover at the best possible price.
Health insurance with far-reaching benefits.
95% of claims settled in 5 days.
Low-cost life insurance.
And investments.
Security in retirement.
With a custodian pension plan.
For happy beginnings and a happy ever after,
visit BritK.ky or call 949-8699.
Brit K, where people come first.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore,
Nursing, education, social work, media studies, hospitality, electrical, plumbing, AC. Wow, I didn't even know that the University College of the Cayman Islands offered all that.
Yes, all that and more, as well as event management and QuickBooks. They also did customized training for our staff last month. Hey, didn't your son just graduate from high school? Take him so he can apply for the fall semester.
Pursue your academic and professional goals at UCCI. Admissions are ongoing. Classes start August 27th. Visit them or call 623-8224 to learn more.
There are times when you need to stand and fight, and times when it makes more sense to hunker down and ride it out. I'm Charles Whitaker, reminding you that you need to know where you are going to safely shelter before the storm strikes. For more information, visit caymanprepared.ky.
King Sports Center's Art of Fun Summer Camp is back from July 3rd to August 3rd. Now in its 14th year, the Art of Fun Camp is ideal for kids aged 5 through 10 with activities from football, basketball, dodgeball, squash, rock climbing, arts and craft, dance, singing, and more. Your child can stay cool while having fun in a safe and secure environment. For more info, email kings.brebanks@gmail.com. That's kings.brebanks@gmail.com. Or call 946-KING, like King's Sports Center on Facebook, and you can also find them on Instagram, or call 946-5464. King's Sports Center, providing you with all your fitness, recreation, and relaxation needs.
It's hard. Being a parent is demanding, not to mention trying to keep a roof over our heads and food on the table. I needed help, and the Ministry of Education was able to provide it for my child to attend preschool. From one parent to another, if you need the financial help, submit your application today to find out if you qualify for preschool funding assistance.
If you have a child who is 3 years old but not yet 4 by September the 1st, you may be eligible to receive funding. Application forms can be collected from the Government Administration Building, the Department of Education Services, all early childhood centers, and may be found on the Ministry of Education's website at www.education.gov.ky. If you need more information about this government assistance program, please do email ecap@gov.ky. That's ECAP@gov.ky, or call 244-5724.
Honey,
Our fridge has stopped working again. Everything in the freezer is melting. We need to get this repaired right away. I'm calling Brand Source Service.
When you need the very best appliance service, call Brand Source Service at 623-5000. Offering service and installation of all brands and models of appliances. Brand Source Service is Cayman's source for appliance parts and repairs with qualified and experienced technicians and the island's largest stock of appliance parts. Brand Source Service will have your repair completed in a flash. So, whatever the problem is, call the experts at 623-5000. Brand Source Service, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Telephone 623-5000.
Satisfy your World Cup cravings at Merengue Town. Now under sole ownership by Mr. Johnny. $15 bucket specials during the game. And after game time, it's party time. With Karaoke Wednesdays, the Friday night party with DJ Bambino. And on Saturday and Sunday, get your sweetness on with DJ Sugar. Enjoy free finger foods and soup. And don't forget about the fried fish specials. Only at Merengue Town. Located in Georgetown on Boilers Road off Walkers Road. Merengue Town. It's time. Feel the rhythm. Time to feel the vibes. It's time for Merengue Town.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, we got the good company, the Director of E-Government, Mr. Ian Tibbetts, for another, less than 10 minutes, Mr. Tibbetts. So thank you very much. And then we'll talk about some sports camps the government putting on. Listener sent through message here. I guess this would be social media. See that we got all kind of messages coming through all kind of ways. Apparently the carrier pigeon injured himself flying over. I just can't. I'd like to read it if I can.
Sure.
Says, to summarize my opinion on e-government and e-commerce, it says, generally, it is fair to say that initially most countries and people were willing to grab onto the concepts or positive factors resulting from being able to do things more efficiently and therefore cause greater productivity in the hope of an overall better quality of life. But the fact remains, however, that we have not necessarily improved the quality of life in many instances, even where productivity may have improved. So there is also a very serious issue of what level of control against criminal elements that any government or company may be able to exercise. We should not ignore nor forget that many larger countries with dedicated departments or even ministries of information technology have recently been putting out public warnings about the inability of internationally popular applications such as Twitter and WhatsApp, for instance, to comply with the basic and fundamentally important requirements of ensuring the security of information and its users' personal information. So this made news recently, as of yesterday even. So I think that it is vital that we are very careful to examine from every angle and conceivable extreme any use of information technology before wholeheartedly accepting any new system, especially one which involves placing what is traditionally personal information in a publicly accessible format on a publicly accessible media. Finally, we should emphasize that there is a fine but important line between appropriate levels of transparency and invasion of privacy as protected by the Constitution.
Interesting. There are many points on that. We would need another half hour to discuss that, but in its entirety. I think one of the things that I'd like to emphasize that it touches on is around the security and protection of your information. There's two pieces that I want to touch on. I mean, there are many facets to it, but one is actually protecting the data and information that we have internally. So in terms of, but what he didn't really speak to, but I suspect is part of his thought process, is around protecting not just the confidentiality, but the integrity and availability of that data. And those become incredibly important when you're a government, because the government information is oftentimes the the authority of record, the source of record for that information. So the integrity of it is paramount. Secondly, as with technology, and we become more as a society reliant on technology, availability of that information when you need it to the right person is key. So it's not just about confidentiality, but the other piece, and this is an area that we've been doing a lot of work in, because it's an area that concerns me significantly today for Cayman, is how we access the information, how we identify the person accessing the information. So if you think about today, where almost everything is accessed using what we refer to as single-factor authentication. It's only things that you know. One of the things that we're feverishly working on, I throw out a buzzword about identity and access management solution and so forth that we're working on. But what that really means to the average person is some way to strengthen that security around how you access the information, where it's not just something you know, but it's something you have or something you are. So whether that is that there's an ID card with a chip in it that has certain information, secure information, and you can say, okay, so I know my username and password and I know my PIN, but I have to have the card to prove that it's me as well. Okay, and the PIN is linked to the card and such. Or whether it be your fingerprint on a phone or something that says, this phone when we know that you registered this phone with your account as the owner, and now we can have that degree of confidence. If you think about the services we offer today, like police clearance, for example, let's pick on that. We have thus far been introducing services that don't give you access to information inside, but we will actually receive information from you. You upload your passport, etc., information, and we will process based on that. So we're getting the information from you. It's not us giving you information that you didn't have access to in your own possession. And that is, for me, is something that absolutely needs greater security before we allow you to be able to get access to information or to perform transactions as a known individual. We have to have stronger authentication for you getting on.
Well, Mr. Tibbetts, I always appreciate it, man. And you put things in a context that not only the technically, savvy can understand, but those of us who just have an interest and read on the periphery can be excited about. Thanks so much for sharing the time with us this afternoon.
My pleasure, and thanks for the opportunity, and thanks for the listening public.
All right, we look forward to having you back on again as we continue talking about e-government and understanding why we're leveraging the technology and hopefully getting to a place where society looks at it and sees the benefits.
Absolutely, and you know what? At the end of the day, this is here to serve society, right? So that's why I was saying we really need the discussion going more. So we need to be getting input from the populace around what do they want, what do they not want? Because at the end of the day, it has to be that discussion informs policy. It's our own strategy that informs policy that then we execute upon, right?
Indeed. That's why the public needs to be involved in it, take ownership, and have to guide the narrative so that what comes out is what they want.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Thanks very much. Well, last week, Thursday, we had a chance to speak to the Director of Sports on the upcoming summer camps that the Department of Sports have. Well, when we come back from the break, Miss Mida Day will join us and continue that discussion and remind us how to get registered and tell us about it. So please join us as we welcome to the studio after the break, Miss Mida Day.
Give me freedom, give me fire.
Cave Bar and Lounge in Northside, your home for all the World Cup action. Open daily from 10 a.m. with $70 bucket specials during all World Cup games and daily happy hour specials. Feel the passion, feel the fire, free the mind, and enjoy the game at the Cave Bar and Lounge, located on Frankstown Road in the Old Nico Norte.
When I get older, I will be stronger. They'll call me freedom, just like a waving flag. So wave your flag.
Cave Bar and Lounge.
Sometimes having a middleman is not a bad thing, especially when it comes to insurance. Do you know that when it comes to cost, ease, speed, and peace of mind, insurance brokers ranked higher than when customers buy direct? So, for all your insurance needs, call Fidelity Insurance. We're the middleman you want. Call us today at 949-7822. Fidelity. We're good for you.
Hi, I'm remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions.
Sure.
What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities, built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials, are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's new kitchen and bath center.
Nursing, education, social work, media studies, hospitality, electrical, plumbing, AC. Wow, I didn't even know that the University College of the Cayman Islands offered all that.
Yes, all that and more, as well as event management and QuickBooks. They also did customized training for our staff last month. Hey, didn't your son just graduate from high school? Take him so he can apply for the fall semester.
Pursue your academic and professional goals at UCCI. Admissions are ongoing. Classes start August 27th. Visit them or call 623-8224 to learn more.
Pirates Cave and Eatery.
Tune in Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m.
Exclusive.
Radio Cayman's Super Jam Show, the #1 drive time entertainment show on your radio, featuring Will Sinatra. Enjoy a mix of pop, hip-hop, dancehall, and soca, and an entertainment trivia section.
Another proud sponsor of the Super Jam Show.
Pirates Cave and Eatery.
Bring your family, satisfy your appetite, enjoy the ambience.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Afternoon, welcome back to Talk Today. Again, a special thanks to all you for listening and sharing, and certainly, if our phone lines are working and you call, we'll hear from you. Certainly appreciate the opportunity now to speak to Ms. Mida Day. As we shared last week, we had a wonderful opportunity to speak just briefly with Mr. Colin Anglin, the Director of Sports, about the upcoming Department of Sports summer camps. Now, Ms. Mida, I know your schedule. I've heard people say, man, how did she manage to get from West Bay to West End almost in the same day? She must have a special wings. So thanks for taking time out of your schedule, coming and sharing with us, because as the summer unfolds, we see many students as well as their parents looking forward for wholesome, constructive, nurturing, positive things that they can do that engages the body as well as the mind. And over the years, the Department of Sports have been very instrumental in providing summer camps, many of which are free, and even the ones that only cost $25, for the week. I mean, some of us spend more on breakfast or coffee in the mornings, right? So thank you so much for sharing with us, Ms. Mida.
Thank you so much for having us, because we want to plug the camps. Like you say, we have a series of camps being held over the summer, up to the last one being in August. That's being held in conjunction with FC Football Club in Northside. All of the other camps finished around week 2 of August. Mm-hmm. So at the moment right now, we have the netball camp.
So this week now?
Yes.
I mean, Monday was a holiday, but camps are ongoing, and that's why I appreciate Mr. Anglin, popping in last week and saying, listen, Monday's a holiday and schools are just ending, but, we're still working. Camps are ongoing. Right?
Yes.
So the netball camp?
The netball camp started yesterday, and that's going very well. Fortunately for us, we were able to get use of the John Gray High School gym, because at first we thought it was off limits because they were doing some refurbishment. And we were able to get that. So the kids are inside, and with this type of weather, as you can see, that's a plus.
This is good weather for being inside. Huh?
Yes.
Now, It's Wednesday, so we've got Thursday and Friday. Is it too late now for someone to want to catch the last 2 days?
Someone came, a new person came this morning, and they were signed up, so sure, come on down and join us.
Now, you must forgive me, because I like netball. I mean, I'm not good at it. I don't think I would even venture to play in front of any large audience, but it's a great sport, and it's physical. but it's also mental.
It is, and we have boys in the camp as well, because as you might be aware, on the world scene and in the region, we have men playing their co-ed leagues, where you have 3 men on a team and the Fast Five as well. So we have some young men within the camp group, and they're having a ball. They're having a great time.
Well, I'll share this with you, and I hope and those who remember won't be offended, but we did it back then when there wasn't that many boys, males playing that ball.
Yes.
You either had to be very confident in who you were, or had the right connections with the female netballers to be able to even get on the court. But we did it because I thought that it allowed us to understand how to play football better.
Yes, the passing concept and moving into the space.
That's it,
All of them, all the sports it works for.
It does, man. And so, not too late if tomorrow, male or female.
Yes.
Now, there's an age limit, right?
Well, we're stopping at the age of 16. And, because obviously children mesh better with each other within certain age groups. And even within those age groups we have them separated in the camp.
All right. So, that's this week. Next week, continue on to some other camps.
Next week, we have 3 camps. So if you're in the district of West Bay and you're interested in football, down on the Johnny Cumber football field or the town hall field, Coach Huta will be there, and it will be a football camp.
What's the time for that one?
All the camp starts at 8 o'clock. I mean, when I say 8 o'clock, you can drop off as early as 8, and they must be collected by 12:30.
Okay.
But the camp actually will start at 9. But even if you're running late, go on down. And that camp has a limit as well. We're hoping that we'll get up to 100 children. But, obviously we have a ratio to coaches, and we want to give the campers a better experience. So if we limit it, then that will ensure that happens.
And it's fun. I mean,
yes.
the young boys and girls who are doing the camps, it's amazing. And the parents too are, for that few hours, the child is in a good place.
Yes, I mean, because even if you have a sitter at home, it's good to keep the children occupied and keeping them doing a healthy alternative. And we have, so that's one camp, that's the football camp. And then coming down to Georgetown, we have the cricket camp, which will be held at the Smith Road Cricket Oval. Their limit will be 60 children this year.
Wow.
Yeah, last year they had I think up to 100. But because of it's difficult sometimes to get people to come out, especially in a specialist sport like cricket, to give up their time to come out and coach in the day. So due to the limitations and people who are available to coach, they can only take 60. That camp is free because that's also being held in conjunction with the Cricket Association.
Okay.
Whereas the football camp in West Bay is all Department of Sports. So that one is $25 for the week.
All right. Now, with that, we know the camps are either free or respectful or relatively, inexpensive. How do we get registered for the camp?
You can go online to www.departmentofsports.com, and all of the information is posted there. You can download forms and print them off. And if you have an issue that you don't have a printer, you can go to the Department of Sports located at the Truman Bodden Sports Complex. That's just past the Lions Pool on the way to UCCI under the main grandstand. And you can fill out forms there, and you can pay at the same time to ensure that your child has a spot. Because if you print off a form and fill it out and email it to us, we will acknowledge that we got receipt and we will put you in the folder. But the spaces will go to the first 30 people, 60 people, 150 people that have paid for the respective camps with regards to their limits.
And here's a good way too, for the parents not just to engage their children, but over the summer to give them a chance to be introduced to different sports, even if they've not an active cricketer or footballer.
Of course, yeah. All of those camps are open to beginners, a wide range of levels. So please don't feel scared if your child hasn't played before. The coaches have made provisions for that. There will be different groups, and if they're beginners, they will make sure and facilitate them so that they feel comfortable. And our third camp next week is a swim camp. Now that we talk about abilities, the swim camp is a junior lifeguard camp. So the children attending that camp will have to be able to swim 50 meters competently because it is the nature of the camp. we'll be teaching them lifeguard skills.
Now, 50 meters, we've got the Lions pool now, so that'll be two lengths of that existing pool.
Yes.
Okay, so if you've been there before,
yes,
be able to swim from one end to the next and then back again.
Yeah, so basically the campers will learn basic life-saving techniques taught to a lifeguard. So that's the reason why all campers all participants in that camp need to be able to competently swim. And the age group is also limited to ages 9 to 14.
Okay, so that competent 9-year-old or 14-year-old who can swim.
Yes.
But if they're that age and not comfortable swimming, competent swimmers,
yes,
it's not for them.
And if you have a child, I guess, on the verge of the age, they can speak to the camp director. It's totally up to them. Because if the child is a competent swimmer and go to the program and say they're going to be 9 the next week or something, I'm sure that the camp director will take that into consideration. The same with the football. You have some children 6 that are competent at football, that's already exposed, but we leave that up to the individual camp director to make that call.
And especially too, I would appreciate you sharing that, where their siblings involved or in the household, their children close in age, if they're caregivers, the parents, guardians want them to be
go
able
together.
To go together.
Yes, but in the case of the swim camp, that wouldn't be possible because, as you can realize, they have their own form to fill out, a waiver, because it's a completely different thing.
Indeed.
In the water. And, you have to have even more adults, eyes on those children in the pool, because even the most competent person can run into difficulties.
That's it. And I appreciate you stressing that safety, because you want them to enjoy it and be engaged, but want them to be safe.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, so those are the 3 camps we have this week. So that's a great variety, and I think it should speak to pretty much everybody, because, we have the cricket camp in Georgetown, which, people coming in and out from the districts, from the eastern ends. So I think that, Yeah.
Well, I'm going to wait till you do the marble camp and the gig camp.
Well, it's so funny that you said that. I spoke to my director about that about 2 years ago. I wanted to do a traditional camp because I thought it was so important to continue with some of the old traditional games that we as young people enjoyed. And I spoke to someone, and I think it was 2 different groups that were doing that. I think the Cultural Foundation and maybe Youth Flex, Youth Department of Youth, which is an arm of us. Separately youth unit. And again, this year I thought of it, and I thought, well, then maybe we should perhaps do a multi-camp where a child can come, learn how to fly a kite or make a kite at the same time, do a little football that day, and perhaps swimming, but swimming for a person who maybe not as competent as but can still get a little bit of swimming in, even if it's a half an hour program. So it will be a camp that will teach them all sorts of stuff. We can talk about etiquette. We could speak about, techniques to public speaking, all sorts of stuff. So it will be a holistic approach.
Indeed. Well, when we come back from our news break, Ms. Biddy, you want to share more with us some of the details as we continue? Phone lines are open. I think Mr. Fox is ready to take your calls and give you directions on where to bring lunch. Not a problem. 949-8037 or toll free at 1-800-534-TALK. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Important notice for all contractors, including general, civil, residential, building, and trade contractors. The Department of Planning would like to inform you that in order to pull permits and request inspections, your company must be registered with the Builders Board by July 31st, 2018. Failure to register with the Builders Board will prevent you from seeking permits and inspections. Fees and applications can be found online at www.planning.ky. All applications and fees for all contractors must be submitted by July 31st, 2018.
Did you know that recycling collection containers are located island-wide in Grand Cayman? The Department of Environmental Health's program is an integral part of DEH's waste management responsibility in the Cayman Islands. Start your recycling program at home today. Put your tin and aluminum cans in appropriate DEH recycling containers at all Foster supermarkets, Kirk Market, or Hurley's Grand Harbor. Help keep the Cayman Islands clean. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. For more information about recycling, go to www.deh.gov.ky.
You are listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's newsroom. Headline. These are the biggest stories right now.
Cayman sees good tourism arrival numbers for the month of May, with air arrivals surpassing last year's numbers. Tourism officials report that 209,143 visitors were welcomed in the first 5 months of the year, reflecting a whopping 16.51% increase over 2017, which is a total of 29,637 more stayover visitors. For more information and detailed arrival statistics, visit the website www.caymanislands.ky/statistics. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, a man and woman are in critical condition after being exposed to an unknown substance which counterterrorism officers are investigating. The pair, believed to be 45-year-old Charlie Rowley and 44-year-old Dawn Sturgis, were found unconscious at a house in Amesbury, Wiltshire on Saturday. It is understood tests are being carried out on the substance at a government chemical weapons laboratory. A 92-year-old U.S. woman shot and killed her 72-year-old son in order to avoid being sent into a care home. Anna Mae Blessing, who is charged with murder, contemplated her son's intentions to put her into care for days. That's according to court documents. As she was escorted out of the Arizona home she shared with her son and his girlfriend, she reportedly said, "You took my life, so I'm taking yours." Mrs. Blessing told police she had intended to kill herself too. And Iranian police have arrested a man they say hoarded 2 tons of gold coins in order to manipulate the local market. Tehran's police chief general Hossein Rahimi said the unnamed 58-year-old had used accomplices to collect an estimated 250,000 coins over the past 10 months. He dubbed him the Sultan of Coins. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. And thanks for joining us as we continue discussion with Ms. Mila Day as we talk about the Department of Sports and their ongoing summer camps. Now, if you're just joining us, Ms. Mila, you were sharing the camps are already started and they're going to continue, second week or so of August?
Of August, and the last camp is being held in conjunction with FC Football Club. That will be held on the week of the 20th of August in Northside.
Northside.
Yes.
So you're going all across and everywhere, up and down, right?
Yes.
Now, camps, as you shared, are relatively inexpensive, very easy for people to get registered, to get their children involved. Continue to share with us, Mom.
Okay, so when you're looking at our flyer, you might note that for the netball camp example, is you can contact Maureen Hall, who is our technical director for SENA, because we're doing that camp in conjunction with the Netball Association, and she is the camp director and being assisted by Laverne, Molly-Ann, Coach Sherry, and Coach Irvin. You will see it says email netball@departmentofsports.com. All of the individual emails for the various camps links back to camps at Department of Sports. So I'm coordinator of all camps. So that will come to me. So myself and Mr. Anglin, our director, get everything. And when you email me at camps@departmentofsports.com, it also will filter around and links back to all the coaches so that they could see what's going on as well. And then we have 2 very able interns in Lacey Barnes. That's one of our elite athletes. Thrower, Coach Molly's daughter, and Franz Jr. Working with us this summer. And they are the people that are getting the emails and answering back and printing off everything and putting them in their various folders, and then perhaps making a few calls to say you've registered for the cricket camp or for the swim camp, and there's only 10 spaces that you haven't come in to pay. So we're urging you to come in to pay to ensure that your child gets a spot. So each year we're trying to improve on the way we filter and move everything around so that, it can be a better experience all around for everyone.
Now, for the respective camps, now, parents are expected to get their children to the particular location. So, for instance, next week when you do the football camp in West Bay, drop them to the
Town
playing
Hall
field.
Yeah. 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, you might find some people there earlier, but 8 o'clock is the time that you can leave them, safely leave them.
Right, and I mean, it's convenient located. You're going to be coming to work anyway, so
yes.
As you swing in and out, you drop them and then collect them.
And collection is by 12:30. We're asking people to collect by 12:30 every day. The camp finishes at 12, but we're asking if you could collect.
I mean, people will take their lunch and just come and collect their children. All right, so the camps and little flyers are, everywhere, but they're also on your websites. I know many of the schools, before schools close, the flyers were there.
We disseminated flyers to every school, all the government schools, and I made contact with private schools as well. And we didn't want to just drop them off at the reception. We gave the coaches in the department, they divided up the schools among themselves. Coach Laverne took West Bay and Georgetown Primary. Coach Molly took Savannah and Prospect, and Coach Cherry and so forth, and then myself and Miss Maureen went all the way to East End, Northside and Bordentown, and we handed flyers to people that we knew were the sports pushers in the school to ensure that they got them out to the various athletes. And each camp director were given camp forms and flyers from all the sports, across all the sports, not only in the netball camp, but the football camp, all the sports, cricket, so that they could hand theirs out as well. I also got it done in a WhatsApp app so that they could send it out like that. So it made it easier because we got to move with the new technology. Because, a lot of the young people have their WhatsApp and then we could get it around. We also sent it to Miss Lynette Monteith,
Director of Education Services,
and Mrs. Can't remember her name is and asked them if she could send it to all principals as well.
All right. So with that now, I mean, parents just need to make sure that they get their children registered, the requisite information in the forms of sign up, the small fee is paid, and get the children there and collect them in time.
Yes, and I mean, if a child is struggling with a fee, and, because let's just face it, it may seem like it's little for us, and it is very little for some, but for some people it's still a struggle if they have more than one child and they want to send them to various camps. And if it's a struggle, they can, the camp directors have said to us, okay, this child will be exempted, and we leave all of that up to their discretion.
Let's not leave the child idle and unattended.
Yes.
Because I respect that.
So if a person comes there and they can't afford it, let's put it this way. We would want the people to pay the fee, but if a child comes there, we're not going to say, you can't pay that fee today, and the child has to go back. So if you come with a child and you say, many parents have come and said, okay, I forgot the fee. We don't want that. We would prefer for them to pay before or to pay on the morning. But if that is the case, then we'll say, okay, can you bring it tomorrow? And if they're saying that I can't pay it, then we'll discuss it and we'll fit the child in.
And who knows, that child now may have never, let's use football as an example, never played football before.
Yes.
This week of the camp may give them a chance to realize that, hey, they like the sport.
Exactly. And then that could be a child that could be filtered into one of the programs, and who knows where that could lead that child.
Exactly. Yes. And I think, the idea, as Ms. Tangley shared when he popped in last week, is that the child is now put in an environment, meeting new friends, interacting with, his classmates from earlier, but still doing something that is productive. And
yes,
not
and we tend to get a diversity of children, which is great. I think it's important for all children to be able to operate, not with only children from their district, but children from across the island and different cultures. And I think that's so important. I mean, for the basketball camp, which is extremely popular, we're going to be having 2 different times. So we're going to have a morning camp and we're going to have an afternoon camp, because that is a very popular camp and we wanted to be able to fill the needs of the majority. So the morning camp will hold 60 and the evening camp.
Okay.
And,
now, when is that camp again?
That camp does not happen until August. Yes. Let me see. I think August 6th, basketball camp. Yes. The basketball camp is the same week as the East End camp. And we figured if we had to double up on camps, one all the way in the district of East End and one down at Kamana Bay, just on the outskirts of Georgetown. And that, unfortunately, we did not want to clash with any of the camps, but it's really difficult to find an indoor space. And at that time, we didn't know we had use of John Gray because we had written to them, and of course, they had plans to do some refurbishment. So we had to secure Kamana Bay, and then we had to take that when we could get it because they have their own camps as well.
Right.
Yes.
So with that, as you said, you have two times in the morning and an afternoon session.
So we will have the age group of 7 to 11 in the morning, and then 12 to 16 will be in the afternoon.
Okay.
And that is the week of the 6th of August to the 10th.
And that's for beginners.
It doesn't matter your level.
Right.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned not only age, but there's also a limit on the number.
60.
So even for that camp as well.
And that camp is filling up really fast. We have that's a very popular camp. I like the swim camp, and it's filling up. And we've had people who have registered their children. We have, been trying to reach out to say or send emails to say, please come and pay, because even if you send your form in and I come that morning or come tomorrow after you send it in 3 weeks ago and I pay, my child will get the space because I pay.
Yeah, well,
So it's the first 60 children to pay.
All right. Think about it. You go into the supermarket and one person is standing there looking at the item on the shelf. Another person says, well, you know what? Take it and go to the cash register.
Yes.
I mean, who's bought it, right?
Yes, that's how we've had to do it. And that's why we like when people send in the emails as well. And they come in to pay. But we can put you in order. But if a person that sends their email in 10 days after you comes in and pay that same day, then they get the preference of the spot.
All right. Well, any other thoughts, final thoughts you might want to share with us, Ms. Vida, in relation to our camps?
I would just like to say that when the children come out to the camps, we try to encourage them to grow and develop and interact, but we also put safety first. So please don't feel fearful. Your child will be cared for by the people that are there, and we encourage everyone to put down any allergies or any issues their child may have, and we encourage children to take a break if they need to, and to listen to their bodies, because some children can do more, and we're cognizant that the sun is very hot, especially for the outdoor camps. So children are encouraged to replenish. You should send your child with their favorite drink. We have water and Gatorade will be provided. We will also be providing fruits like apple, oranges, and bananas throughout the week. And on the last day, we usually order in pizza. And we're very careful to ensure that we take note of whatever is written on the forms if a child can't eat something. So those are key things, and it's important for parents to put a separate number outside of theirs as an emergency contact. So in the event that we cannot make contact with that particular parent or guardian, there is someone else that will answer that phone. Because, as our grandmother would say, trouble don't blow shell. And you need to be prepared. And it's just for precaution. That's
true. Yeah. So have that multiple contacts. So that just in case, the parent might be, working somewhere and inadvertently the phone is switched off or just not ringing through.
Yeah.
The child needs to be,
Yes, we've had that. We had that up until this morning where we couldn't get on to a parent and we had to, and these things happen. I mean, it worked out, but these things happen. So, so I would encourage everyone to go on to our website, www.departmentofsports.com, and get your forms, fill them in, pay early, or if you can't print off the forms, just go in there and see what camp you might be interested in, make notes, and then just come into the sports complex, to the sports office, and you can sign up there and pay. Don't
wait. The camp may be a week away or multiple weeks, but sign up now.
Yes, sign up now. I mean, like the Bordentown camp comes like the third week. That's the 23rd to 27th. So I'll just go through. We have the netball camp now. We have a swim camp next week at the Lions Pool. We have a football camp in West Bay and a cricket camp at Smith Road. Then the following week, we have the Georgetown camp, football camp at the Annex. We're going to have another swim camp the same week. Then we're going to have a Bordentown football camp on the 23rd to the 27th and another swim camp on Grand Cayman. Then the following week, I think our week break, we will have a camp in the BRAC. A swim camp, it goes to the BRAC. And I know Mitcham has been in touch, some of our camps. Coaches will go over there and do basketball camps and football camps in between. And then back on Grand Cayman, we will have the East End football camp on the 6th to the 10th and the basketball camps, ending off with the camp in Northside on the 20th to the 24th.
All right. Now, with the swim camps, because many people, is there any restriction on a child doing, swim camp this week and then the next week and then the next week?
Yes. In the past, we have allowed a child to come to that camp 3 weeks, but we thought I'm thinking the rationale behind it is because it's only 30 children, and to have one child get to come to that camp 3 times is a little unfair. So, and especially because it's teaching the life-saving techniques, they want to give other children a chance. So if your child goes to one swim camp, they cannot go to the other 2 weeks.
Pick one of the 3 offerings and then do some other camps. All right.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And as the summer unfolds, Ms. Mito, whether it's the wonderful presence of your company here in the studio or a phone call or just WhatsApp or whatever, share with us if you need us to give the public more information, update them on certain things, whatever we can do to help. All right?
Yes, thank you very much. And the public there's numbers. My number is listed at the bottom. And camps at the Department of Sports, like I say, it'll come through to all of us. And when they email all of the individual camp directors, that also comes to us. Some of them have kindly given their numbers, their personal numbers. That's on that. So they can feel free to call them as well.
All right. Well, flyers are here at Radio Cayman.
Yes.
Certainly online if you want. The government departments are there. And for those who don't know, the Department of Sports, right up with the sports complex.
Yes.
So
and we will be putting them in some of the sports shops. I'm going to be speaking to Winner Circle Sport, the #1 shoe shop, Sports Supply, and see if we could post them there so that people could just pick up the flyers and then have that and some of the forms, because each of the different camps have different forms.
Chris Goddard is always supportive. He's right there.
Yes.
So no, not a problem. Thanks, Ms. Vita.
Thank you so much for having us.
It's always a pleasure. Maybe when you find time in your day that you can get a few minutes, we can come and we can talk about sports and development of people in your personal capacity.
Yes, no worries. Anytime. Always happy to.
Thank you so much, Ms. Vita.
Thank you very much.
All right. To our listeners, the Department of Sports, the summer camps are a wonderful way to not just introduce our children to the sports, keep them engaged, but who knows, help them to develop their skills and their interests as well. So get them registered and get them signed up and get them participating. Let's pause now and take a break. When we come back, more Talk Today.
Give me freedom, give me fire.
Cave Bar and Lounge in Northside, your home for all the World Cup action. Open daily from 10 a.m. with $70 bucket specials during all World Cup games and daily happy hour specials. Feel the passion, feel the fire, free the mind, and enjoy the game at the Cave Bar and Lounge, located on Frankstown Road in the Old Nico Norte.
When I get older, I will be stronger. They'll call me freedom, just like a waving flag. So wave your flag.
Cave Bar and Lounge.
Optical Outlook is so wicked.
They're brilliant. Tremendous.
So hot.
They're awesome. Yo, them cool.
They're sweet.
Just ice, mate.
I love them like cooked food.
Head to Optical Outlook and find many designer brands for men and women. Sun safety and eye health care never look so good. They'll be able to help you find the best fit for your face and budget. Call 746-2020 and book your eye exam today. Come see the difference with Optical Outlook and make sure to follow them on Facebook and Instagram.
Sometimes having a middleman is not a bad thing, especially when it comes to insurance. Do you know that when it comes to cost, ease, speed, and peace of mind, insurance brokers ranked higher than when customers buy direct? So, for all your insurance needs, call Fidelity Insurance. We're the middleman you want. Call us today at 949-7822. Fidelity. We're good for you.
Did you know that recycling collection containers are located island-wide in Grand Cayman? The Department of Environmental Health program is an integral part of DEH's waste management responsibility in the Cayman Islands. Start your recycling program at home today. Put your cardboard items in appropriate DEH recycling containers at all Foster's supermarkets, Kirk Market, or Hurley's Grand Harbor. Help keep Cayman clean. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. For more information about recycling, go to www.deh.gov.ky.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks for joining us. Certainly appreciate you spending some of your summer with us, especially during the lunch hour here. And as you heard from Ms. Mee today, the Department of Sports have the ongoing sports camps this summer, whether it's football or swimming or netball or basketball or even cricket. There's some avid cricketers, not just the Whiteboard brothers. Others are there who get into cricket. Well, check out the Department of Sports and participate in their camps, get information. If there's a camp coming up in your district or there's a camp that you think you want your children to participate in, as Ms. Meader reminds us, don't leave it for the week before, the day of. Maybe do it now, not just so that you can plan beforehand and know what you're doing, but for them to be able to schedule their things. As you heard Ms. Meader say today, and the director, Ms. Anglin, said last week, let's say, for instance, they have a limit on their camps out of just being able to properly accommodate and safely, attend to the number of participants. Let's say the limit is 50 for argument's sake, and all of a sudden, they have subscription for 100. Well, maybe with sufficient notice, they can reach out to some others who can come on board and help them out so that we have, more adults, more able volunteers to safely have a ratio that allows them to be able to deliver the quality of camp that, they want. All right. It's open line, 949-8037, 949-8037, or toll free with the compliments of Flow at 1-800-534-8255. Or you can WhatsApp 925-32-6-1. And certainly as we look at our sentiments here that expressed to us, we want you to be part of our discussions. 949-8037 if you're not a Flow subscriber, or toll free at 1-800-534-8255. A couple of interesting thoughts have been shared with us during the production today, some of which we have been looking at, and maybe in these waning minutes of our discussion we'll share with you the idea that as we start to look at the changes that our society are facing, one individual sent through a couple of comments that they believe that Cayman sometimes is woefully lacking and some of its resources to attend to these issues. As this commenter here shares with us, it talks about the idea of freedoms and rights and responsibilities. The idea that Cayman on one hand is being asked to conform to a number of international protocols and perhaps without the supporting legislation or resources to properly address the issue. It says, from Cuban migrants to the idea that prisoners are asking for greater freedoms and rights. This person says, I don't think the Cayman appreciates that we are in a changing world. Our prisoners no longer are expected to be incarcerated for life. Life no longer means life imprisonment. But should it? Well, what is your thought as this person writes that? Do you think if you're sentenced to life that is in fact what it is? Or should it be after, a period of time? And as this person alludes, why is it that some people will in fact serve life but others may not necessarily. And what if there's a young offender? Do we put that person away forever? What then happens to our society? Well, thoughts that this person has sent to us, certainly appreciate you taking time, and hopefully it may encourage others to think about some of those other things that are happening. So look at some of the other comments here that have been said to us. This one talks about increasing crime and criminal behavior in our society. This other comment questions the seemingly inability of the public to either be aware of the criminal element in our society, but more so for the authorities to be cognizant of those who either, as it says, enter our shores illegally or are illegally overstaying even when they have entered legally. This person writes, it's a small community. We brag about everybody knowing everyone's business. Why is it that we don't know our neighbors? Well, it makes the sort of allegation that within our society here, we seem not to be able to be paying attention to where we are. And in this final person, makes a comment to us in relation to this ongoing, quote-unquote, dispute between the UK and its territories, and seemingly, as this person posted, Cayman's ill-conceived response with joining up with the wider Caribbean. This person has shared that if Cayman isn't careful, it's going to play its hand and lose any advantage it may have. No. That's what's written. That's what we read. Well, you may have a view on that. 949-8037 or toll free at 1-800-534-8255. We had a chance to listen to a few individuals earlier who were of the view that when we talk about Cayman in the 21st century, two of the people sharing their thoughts were the view that we're not even looking at what Cayman is right now. We're seemingly constantly lagging behind the 8 ball. And it said that on one hand, we talk about the inability for the country to defend itself, the seemingly inability to the country to finance embassies and the like, should it be independent. But by the same token, we're talking when it comes to finance and the like, for the country to open up offices across the globe. One of the ladies who was sharing a view saying that those offices will only serve the financial community, being able to steer businesses, in many instances, to the bigger players who continue to leverage the government's sort of resources to their benefit, not to the wider country. And it suggests that if we're going to go down that route, could we use those offices for greater access to the international community to be able to negotiate when we're looking at more autonomy? Now, maybe it's something there that's worth pursuing. Well, tomorrow is Thursday, and as we go forward and look at some of the discussions that are having, well, we invite you to be a part of our ongoing programming here at Radio Cayman. Thursdays, we expect members from our opposition. We know that with the ongoing discussions in the Legislative Assembly and all the likes, sometimes that makes it increasingly challenging for a number of the people to be able to manage their schedules, given that the LA has its business to attend to. So we'll take you through the day and see where that takes us. Certainly remind you of our WhatsApp number, 925-3261. You can always get in touch with our programming, make your requests and the like. Hope you have, as best as you can, a wonderful rest of this afternoon. If it's rainy and wet and the roads are slippery, well, be careful. If the sun is shining and it's blazing hot as it is, still be careful. Be considerate. Be very cautious and cognizant of all of the road users. You don't want any mishaps. I trust that you'll have a wonderful rest of the day. Until tomorrow, be blessed.